What's going on, guys? Today we're gonna talk about the top 5 numbers you need to know when you're making financial projections. Because people always ask, they're like, hey Kris, they're like, how much money can I make? You know, how profitable is it? Like, how much upside is there? I don't know, because it really depends on your situation. So my goal in this video is to help you understand how to create financial projections based on your scenario, based on what you want to do, based on the size of your center and the location that you're in, and hopefully this can help you create a plan for the next 24 months. But first, before I get into it, before I tell you all the secrets, you gotta like, comment, subscribe, show some love. All right, I should probably turn this around. I can't show you until you like, comment, subscribe. Did you do it yet? Are you sure? Dude, I'm looking at you, okay? I don't see you hitting that little button on the computer. All right. So anyways, guys, that being said, my name is Kris, the founder and CEO of ActivAge Daytime Senior Care. And these are the top 5 numbers we're gonna go over. These are the top 5 numbers for you to pay attention to. Obviously, number 1, super easy, revenue. How do we come up with that? You know, most people, they don't really know how to estimate how much revenue a center could do. It's very easy. If you just take an average daily attendance, so a goal for the size of center you're looking for. So say you're looking for a 6,000 square foot space. Maybe in a 6,000 square foot space, you get a 50 to 70 people, okay? So if you're creating financial projections, on the low end, you might peak out at 50 people per day. On the high end, you might peak out at 70 people per day. You might be somewhere in the middle at 60. Either way, if you were creating financial projections, I would make 2, one for the low end, one for the high end. And we're also gonna do it based on dollars per day, or the amount of money you could charge per day. There should be a high and a low on that as well. So that being said, daily attendance, high and low, 6,000 square feet, 50 to 70. 8,000 square feet, 70 to 90. I don't know, wherever that falls based on your square footage, based on your area, what's that high and low? Then days per week. Are you open 5 days per week? Are you open 6 days per week? If you're open 5 days a week or 6 days a week, times that out by 52 weeks in a year, that's gonna give you the number of days that you could actually charge for your services in a given year. And then you wanna ask yourself, are you gonna be open for holidays, or are you closed certain holidays? So you say like, hey, I'm gonna be open 6 days a week, but I'm gonna be closed 5 holidays. So 6 days a week times this number of people per day, times 52 weeks in a year minus 6 days for the holidays that you're closed, brings you a total of X, and you take that and you times it by the average daily rate, whatever that might be. What are you gonna charge per day, or what's the estimated amount you might charge? If you charge hourly, you might be able to come up with an estimated daily amount that you're gonna be charging as an average, okay? So daily attendance times days per week times the dollar amount per day times 52 is gonna give you how much revenue you could generate in a year. And you divide by 12 and you can figure out your monthly, right? Does that make sense? So daily attendance times days per week times the dollar per day you're gonna charge each person on average. This could be an average, and you could have a low average. You might say 70 bucks per day. So you could do $70 a day with 50 people. Does it still make sense top line revenue? You might do 70 people with $90 or $100 per day as a higher, so you're still doing 50 people, but you're doing maybe a higher dollar amount. So what is that range? On the low end of daily attendance, on the low end of the daily rate, on the high end of daily attendance, on the high end of daily rate, what are those 4 ranges? That's gonna give you a very good understanding of what could this potentially do from a conservative standpoint. What could this do if we were to just crush it, okay? Interested in owning your very own ActivAge? Join the fastest growing franchise concept in senior care. As an ActivAge franchise partner, you can be in business for yourself, but not by yourself. Have access to a world-class Margaritaville style environment, and together we can change the world for seniors and their family caregivers. Own an ActivAge today. It's a movement. And then when it comes to number 2, rent. Most people know, so rent's gonna be a big expense. It's gonna be a fixed cost. You're gonna know what your rent is on a monthly basis for the next 5 years. You might have options, you might have 2-year options, 5-year options, but you're gonna have an anticipated understanding of what your rent is gonna cost over time. So it shouldn't change that much, but you need to include that into your expenses, okay? So on the expense line side of this thing, all right, so we got our revenue, now we're looking at the big four expenses. Rent's gonna be one of them. You know, most places are gonna advertise $1 per square foot. So what you're gonna do is take that $1 per square foot times the the square footage you're looking at, and then you're gonna come up with a certain dollar amount. That's gonna be your annual rent amount, okay? So you divide that by 12, now you're gonna come up with your monthly rent amount. So $1 per square foot, you might see, okay, base rent is 15 bucks a square foot plus $5 CAM. What that means is $15 per square foot plus the $5 CAM. What you owe as the tenant is now $20 per square foot. So if it was 20 bucks per square foot and it was only 1,000 square feet, then it'd be 20,000 a year divided by 12. That's how you come up with your monthly rent amount. Does that make sense? I hope it does. Moving on. Make sure you get your pen and your paper and you write some notes. And if you have questions, you can comment below and we can dive deeper into these these topics here. Payroll. Payroll is gonna be by far, payroll is gonna be your biggest expense, period. Like it is, out of all of your expenses, payroll will be single-handedly your largest expense from a percentage standpoint, the percentage of revenue. Because at the end of the day, we're providing a service, we're not selling widgets, we're not having to go buy product, we're selling services, and it takes people to offer those services. So when you're calculating your payroll, some states are gonna require a certain ratio of number of people to number of members, okay? Maybe it's a little 1 to 5, maybe it's 1 to 6, maybe it's 1 to 8. Somewhere between that range of 1 to 6 and 1 to 8, I would estimate would be a good gauge for, so if you had 60 people, how many staff members would you need? You would need 10. You need 10 people for 60, right? If you, in this case on 1 to 8, if you had 80 people, you would need 10. But it's gonna fall somewhere in there. So that might be, it might be 1 to 5, it might be 1 to 8, it's gonna be somewhere in that range. So at least you'll be able to understand, like based on your daily attendance numbers, you'll be able to kind of come up with, what would my staff ratio be? And now you're gonna come up with, okay, on the low end, on like what I would pay someone hourly, on the high end, what I would pay someone hourly, what's the average of those things? And then times, the number of people I'm gonna need during the week, times however long they're gonna work, 40 hours a week, whatever that might be. You're gonna come up with, now you're gonna take the dollar per hour amount, okay, times the number of hours all these people are gonna work to support 50, 60, 70, 80 people, right? And you wanna make sure you times it by 1.2 because that's gonna give you an accurate understanding of, which is gonna include administrative costs to initiate and process payroll. It's gonna include your workers' comp costs. It's gonna include all your payroll taxes. It potentially would also include any benefits or additional things that you might offer. So you always wanna times payroll by 20%. So times it by 1.2 to give you a true understanding of what payroll could be. That being said, insurance. Look, the easiest way for you to get an understanding of what insurance is gonna cost you is just to get a quote. Go to an insurance agent, say, hey, I'm trying to get an estimate on insurance for this, service, this size building, in this area. Maybe you have to give them a specific address. You just want to get a quote on it. They should be able to offer a quote, based on your square footage, based on the number of people attending, based on your history, and you would have an idea and you could go get multiple quotes and just compare them. So in your mind, you have a really good understanding of what insurance is going to cost you. And then last but not least, food costs. I would make sure that when you're planning your food costs, you're gonna spend somewhere between $3 to $5 per day per person. So that should be very easy math when you're coming up with your daily attendance. You're gonna have a range of $3 to $5 based on that daily attendance that you're gonna spend per day per person. That's gonna give you a very healthy understanding of what you should expect when it comes to food costs. Now, when I put food costs in here, I'm talking about the cost to buy the food and all of the disposable ware, the things that go along, with the food, the snacks, the water, the drinks, all that stuff should be somewhere to $3 to $5 per day. So these are gonna be your big expenses, these 4. Everything else is gonna be much, it's just gonna be more minor. You're gonna have utilities expense, you might have electric, you might have cable, but all that stuff should be very easy for you to calculate. These are gonna be the big ones. You're gonna have advertising, you're gonna have marketing expenses. These are things that you're gonna choose, you're gonna select. So where do you plan to advertise? Where do you plan to market? Whatever other things that you as the owner decide to to do are gonna be on you, but these are the things that are gonna be larger expense items and things that you need to at least budget for. So this should give you a very good gauge at the end of it. Revenue minus these expenses is gonna give you a very good gauge of what you got to play with to cover whatever other overhead expenses, utilities, advertising, marketing, and whatever else, grand opening, printed material, shirts, t-shirts, all that stuff that you wanna do. You can then start figuring out that, what is that gonna cost me? How often am I gonna buy those things? And how are those gonna affect my margin? And then you can figure out, okay, do I need to increase my census? Do I need to increase the square footage size? Do I need to increase my pricing? So you're gonna have all these things that you can adjust once you kind of get this basic understanding figured out when you're creating your projections. So hopefully this was helpful. I know it's a lot of information and we're talking about a lot of tedious stuff. Hopefully it just breaks it down well enough for you and I didn't talk too fast and it makes sense. But of course, if you have deeper questions and you want to dive deeper on these subjects, join us for our monthly webinars. They're completely free. We do them on, I believe, the second Wednesday of every month. It'll be posted on ADC Pro. So if you want to learn more about starting your very own adult day center, go to adcpro.com to learn more. Sign up for our monthly webinars, join our private Facebook group, and if you haven't already and you're interested in starting your very own ActivAge, you can go to activagecare.com/franchise, and we'll see you on the next one. Peace. Hey guys, thank you so much for joining me. If you'd like to learn how to open your own adult daycare center, go to adcpro.com. If you'd like the latest business tips, click here, and make sure you subscribe to our channel, click here. We'll see you guys next time.